Humbug Mountain.
So we are starting a new book, The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster, illustrations by Jules Pfeiffer. And we're starting it because it's the time of year when things get pretty dull. We get stuck in the doldrums, just like our character Milo does. And he goes on an adventure to learn how to motivate himself and stay focused through the hard times. Here he is climbing up a mountain with the humbug. This author has all sorts of fun things in here. This is really cool, and I should send this to you. I probably will. A copy of this. This is the map of his journey, and you can follow his journey. I usually in class have a giant one of these maps up, and we move his little car through the world. And so I'll send this to you, and you can keep track of that. I'd like all of you to get out a writing notebook or a spiral notebook so that you can take some notes on the different characters, because there's a lot of characters. Here Milo is. Here he is in his little car. Super cute. And then today, in addition to taking notes, I'm going to let you use your scratch art to try to create something you're envisioning. You don't have to do it right now. If you want to take notes and maybe even do a sketch in your notebook to get ready, the really fun creatures come later on. Here we are in the doldrums with the super bored people. Here's Milo falling asleep with all the lazy guys. And here comes the watchdog. So exciting. Fun to draw the watchdog. He actually is a dog with a watch. And there he is again. Then he goes to the town of what's it called? Dictionopolis. This has a lot of huge, ridiculous words in it. So that's another thing you might want to keep track of, is the vocabulary from this book. There's amazing vocabulary in this book. There is, here we are in Dictionopolis with all of the crazy characters there, and he goes to the marketplace where he buys some letters and meets the spelling bee. There you go, Alma. And then he meets the humbug, and the humbug tries to trick him. And then he gets his quest. Oh, here's the officer, the short officer, Officer Shrift. Later on, you can see he meets the witch and goes on the adventure up into the mountains. And here's the story, and here's the king. He's a little bit chubby. And later on, we've got the monsters and the demons. Oh, and this boy grew from the air down. So he hasn't reached the ground yet because he's not fully grown. This book is crazy and fun. So I thought we could use something crazy and fun this winter. Right now, you're going to be starting to keep track of all the characters. So please write down the names of the characters. Starting to keep track of any images that come to your mind. And you may use your scratch art to start to create art, or you may just listen and do your art later. Okay. I also wanted to share with you really quickly. Hopefully this doesn't kick you off. I'm not sure how it works when I share with the spotlight. But I can't because, am I still sharing? No. Here we go. Basic, desktop, share. Let's go back to this. So I Googled rainbow scratch art for this book, and here somebody did a picture of Digitopolis, which I think is pretty cool looking. So they are Dictionopolis. They imagined it and did this cool thing with I think the fireworks are really neat. Isn't that neat, the way that came out? And then here's the watchdog and just some other pictures from the book. So if you wanted to Google it and look at the pictures from the book, here's some of the creatures in the book. That's kind of fun. And with scratch art, you just scratch the black part off and it leaves an image below. So here's some other ideas for scratch art. If you want to use your paper in some other way, there's really pretty butterfly. Here's an outer space picture. You can do what you want with it. It's your scratch art. All right, here we go. Stop my share.
Let's scratch the scratch art with.
You can use anything. You can use your fingernail. You can use a stick. They actually give you sticks with the package. A coin works really well. So if I go get a coin right now, that works really well. You can really use anything. The back of a pen, the back of a pencil, a paper.
Toothpick.
Yeah, so here we go. Let's see what happens if I do this. Maybe just sign my name on the bottom. Oh, I want to turn it like this. So, whee. Oh, you have to scratch pretty hard.
Miss Laws, I have a question.
Yep.
I got a little confused. Did you say that we have to do the things that we see in the book? Or
No,
we
you don't have to. You can do whatever you want with your scratch art paper, but you're invited to. If you would like to create one of the creatures from the book, that would be awesome. Okay, but I do want you to keep track of the book in your notebooks. I'd like you to keep track of what's going on. So here we go. The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster, chapter 1. Here's our map. Milo. There was once a boy named Milo who didn't know what to do with himself. Not just sometimes, but always. When he was in school, he longed to be out. When he was out, he longed to be in. On the way, he thought about coming home. And coming home, he thought about going. Wherever he was, he wished he were somewhere else. When he got there, he wondered why he'd bothered. Nothing really interested him, least of all the things that should have. It seems to me that almost everything is a waste of time, he remarked one day as he walked dejectedly home from school. I can't see the point in learning to solve useless problems, or subtracting turnips from turnips, or knowing where Ethiopia is, or how to spell February. And since no one bothered to explain otherwise, he regarded the process of seeking knowledge as the greatest waste of time of all. Poor Milo. Here he is looking pretty sad. As he and his unhappy thoughts hurried along, for while he was never anxious to be where he was going, he liked to get there as quickly as possible. It seemed a great wonder that the world, which was so large, could sometimes feel so small and empty. And worst of all, he continued sadly, there's nothing for me to do, nowhere I'd care to go, and hardly anything worth seeing. So right now, next to the name Milo on your list of characters, jot down a few character traits you think Milo has. He punctuated this last thought with such a deep sigh that a house sparrow singing nearby stopped and rushed home to be with his family. Without stopping or looking up, he rushed past the buildings and busy shops that lined the street, and in a few minutes he reached home. Dashed through the lobby, hopped onto the elevator, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off again, opened his apartment door, and rushed into his room, flopped dejectedly, there's a hard word, into a chair and grumbled softly, another long afternoon. He looked glumly at all the things he owned, the books that were too much trouble to read, the tools he'd never learned to use, the small electric automobile he hadn't driven in months, or was it years, and the hundreds of other games and toys and bats and balls and bits and pieces scattered around him. And then to one side of the room, just next to the phonograph, he noticed something he had certainly never seen before. Who could possibly have left such an enormous package, and such a strange one? For while it was not quite square, it was definitely not round. And for its size, it was larger than almost any other big package of smaller dimensions that he'd ever seen. There's a lot of crazy plays on words in this book. Attached to one side was a bright blue envelope, which said simply, for Milo, who has plenty of time. Of course, if you've ever gotten a surprise package, you can imagine how puzzled and excited Milo was. And if you've never gotten one, pay close attention, because someday you might. I don't think it's my birthday, he puzzled, and Christmas must be months away. And I haven't been outstandingly good, or even good at all, he said. He had to admit that. Most probably I won't like it anyway. But since I don't know where it came from, I can't possibly send it back. He's a real Debbie Downer, isn't he? He thought about it for quite a while and then opened the envelope, but just to be polite. One genuine turnpike toll booth, it stated, and then went on. So here's the picture of the toll booth. Let's see if I can make it bigger. No, I can just hold it up. Here's the toll booth. They used to have these toll booths. If you've ever gone up in the gorge and crossed that bridge where you have to pay money to the man in the booth, that's a toll booth. the Bridge of the Gods, you have to pay like $1.50 to cross in your car, and you have to give the money to the man in the little booth. It went on, easily assembled at home and for use by those who have never traveled in the lands beyond. Beyond what, thought Milo as he continued to read. This package contains the following items. 1 genuine turnpike booth to be erected according to directions. 3 precautionary signs to be used in a precautionary fashion. Assorted coins for use in paying tolls. 1 map up to date and carefully drawn by master cartographers depicting natural and man-made features. 1 book of rules and traffic regulations which may not be bent or broken. And in smaller letters at the bottom it concluded, results are not guaranteed, but if not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded. Following the instructions, which told him to cut here, lift here, fold there, he soon had the toll booth unpacked and set up on its stand. He fitted the windows in place and attached the roof, which extended out on both sides and fastened on the coin box. It was very much like the toll booths he had seen on family trips, but of course much smaller and purple. What a strange present, he thought to himself. The least they could have done was to send a highway with it, for it's terribly impractical without one. But since at the time there was nothing else he wanted to play with, he set up the 3 signs. Sign 1, slow down, approaching toll booth. Please have your fare ready, have your destination in mind, and slowly unfolded the map. As the announcement stated, it was a beautiful map in many colors, showing principal roads, rivers, seas, towns, cities, mountains, and valleys, intersections and detours, and sites of outstanding interest, both beautiful and historic. The only trouble was that Milo had never heard of any of the places it indicated, and even the names sounded most peculiar. I don't think there really is such a country, he concluded after studying it carefully. Well, it doesn't matter anyway, and he closed his eyes and poked his finger onto this map. Boom, 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 boom. Dictionopolis, it said. And he saw that his finger had chosen it. Oh well, I might as well go there as anywhere. He walked across the room, dusted the car off carefully. Then taking the map and rule book with him, he hopped in and for lack of anything better to do, drove slowly up to the toll booth. As he deposited the coin and rolled past, he remarked wistfully, I do hope this is an interesting game. Otherwise, the afternoon will be so terribly dull. And we are on to chapter 2, Beyond Expectations. Take a moment now to make a little prediction. What do you think Milo will come across in this strange and new world? It is 10:04 and we are going to stop for today. I'm going to